Hello, my name is Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa, and I'm going to crack a pack. Okay, so first card, Tribal Flames. This card's okay in a domain deck, but the problem is that most 5-color decks want a lot of bounce lands, so it becomes hard to actually have domain in your 5-color deck. I think this is generally a later pick. I don't like picking it, like first picking it. Sign of the Wild is a card that I think is very good. It used to be a rare, and for good reason. The decks, like black-green tokens or black-green sacrifice, green-white, are both good decks, and this is one of the best cards in that deck. So it's a bit narrow, but it's not a card I would be unhappy to first pick. Silence is a medium card, I think. You want it in most of your white decks, but you're generally not going to splash for it like other removal spells, and you often side it out because some of the decks just don't have many targets for it. Bone Splinters is a card that's very good. It's good in the Spirits deck, and it's very good in the Black-Green Tokens deck. It's almost hard to remove for 1 mana because you have so many creatures that you don't care about. But this is also a bit early to pick it. Steady Progress is a card that I have never played in this format. I could see decks like Blue-Green Graft, for example, where you have a bunch of, it just ends up being, you know, +1/+1 to 2 different creatures and draw a card. But that hasn't happened to me yet, and certainly not a high pick. Court Homunculus is a card that is fine in the Artifact deck, which is a deck I don't like very much. I think you need almost perfection for the deck to be good, and it's much easier to get other decks to do the same thing. You need much less to go your way for it to be good. Goblin Fireslinger is a card that's only good in the Bloodthirst deck. If you have Blood Ogres and Goat-Heart Minotaurs, then this card is going to be quite good. If you don't, it's going to be pretty bad. Aquastrand Spider is just a solid card. You don't need any Graft synergy for it to be okay. It's just a 2/2 with Ridge, and you will eventually have a lot of creatures with counters like Etched Oracles or Drakes, or you can graft into something. So it's better than a 2/2 for 2. And that's okay. In some decks it's very good if you have synergy, and sometimes you play even if you don't. The Wolfen Wilds is good in this format. I think the 5-color deck is not as good in draft as it is in sealed, so I'm not as excited about it. But it's very easy to splash with Wayfarer's Bubble and Bounce Lands, so this card is fine. Wayfarer's Bubble, better than Wolfen Wilds, I think, most of the time. It's basically a cardless Rampant Growth. You want it if you were splashing something or if you were 4 colors. Eldrazi Temple, not a card I like very much. I think you would need a very specific deck for it to be good. And most of the decks that want Eldrazi cards are like 4 or 5 colors. So it really hurts to have a colorless card. So most of the time you would end up not playing this. Single Player Swoop King, this card is very good. It's a 4/4 for 4 with 3 different abilities. So even if you don't have anything to go with it, it's still a 4/4 Graft for 4, which is good. And if you do have something, it becomes pretty degenerate very quickly. Like if you just go turn 2 Spider, turn 3 something, turn 4 this, it pumps the Spider already, and whatever you graft that into. So this card is very good. Orzhov Basilica, it's a bounce land. There's not much more to say. I think bounce lands are good in this format. They're probably a bit underrated right now. Some people overrate them. So it's hard to say where exactly they're placed. I think you want it as a fixer, and you want it in your black-white decks. You probably want it in some white or some black decks, depending on how your curve looks like. But it's never going to be a bad pick, but it's not as good as the other cards here. Ghost Construct for Zova is a card that's very good in the Spirits deck, but it's also extremely narrow because it costs double white and double black, so this is the only deck you can play it in. So if I'm already dead archetype, or if I have black or white cards, I'd be very happy to first pick it, but to pick it, but it's not a card I love to first pick. This is another Goblin Fireslinger, so basically the same thing. So deciding what to pick from this pack, I think those are probably the 3 best cards, and those 2 are better than this. The question is, the Ghost Council is the more powerful card, but the Root King is the card that commits you last. I think in this format it's better to stay open in your first seal picks, and I like the green decks more than the Spirit decks. So, because the Spirit decks generally don't support 2 drafters. So if there's 2 of them, then you have to move up. Unless you got pretty lucky and a lot of the good cards are being open, but that's not what you should expect. So I would personally take the Pseudoplast Root King, because even though it's an inferior card, because I don't want to commit so hard with my first pick. But if you were someone that actually likes Black-White Spirits, I could see picking the Ghost Council. Other than that, Sign of the Wild is a good card, but I think it's just worse than the Root King most of the time. In some decks it'll be better, most of the time Root King is better. And I don't think you can justify picking anything else here. It's really between those two cards.